Welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to look at how to create a dice. This is a view of a dice that's been created. It's been rendered in a material. You can see that it's blue. It's actually a blue kind of anodized aluminum. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with the basics here. So I'm going to show you step by step how to create this dice using Fusion 360. When you start, you'll see a blank screen like this. You have something here in the top right hand corner called the view cube, and we'll be using that to manipulate the views as we create this dice. To get started, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to save our work. So you're going to come over here to the save icon, and you're going to click that. You can give it a name like dice, and you're going to save it into a particular location. I have a folder here called manufacturing tech. You will have basic folders that if we click this drop down arrow will look like these. So admin project you will have and default project. I want you to save it in your default project. So we would click that and we would click save. Now sometimes when you're working in Fusion 360, this window will pop up and you won't be able to see the bottom of it. So what you'll need to do is left click on it and drag it up so you can get access to the save button so you can actually save your work. So we'll click save and now we'll get started. In Fusion 360, it is a 3D design program. Everything that we design starts off as a sketch. So if we follow the cursor on the screen, we can see that it comes over to this command called create sketch. So if we click on that, it'll bring up a 3D display, and I'm hovering over these different planes that we can work on. If I hover over this bottom plane, the one on the ground, I can draw on that. And likewise, I could draw on this front plane or on this left plane here on the side. I am going to draw the dice on the plane on the ground. So I'm going to click that. And what will happen, and it's happening kind of slowly in this instance, we will get now a head-on view of the plane we're working on. We can see over here in our view cube where it used to be a 3D cube. Right now we can see that we're just looking at the top of that. We could change this at any time. If we click on this little icon of a house, it'll drop into a 3D view so we can see what we're doing in 3D, but we won't typically have to do that while we're creating sketches. So we'll click on the top view again so we can look at this straight on. And we are going to just pan the drawing down. Now there's commands down here. You can see where my cursor is. It's hovering over pan. If I click that, I can move the sheet that I'm sketching on or the area that I'm sketching on. I can move this around. I can also use this tool over here. This is called Orbit. So if I wanted to manipulate something in 3D and look at different angles of it, I can use the Orbit to do that. In our case, again, we're going to come to the view cube and we're going to click the top view so we can sketch something. We won't need to use the Orbit yet, so we might just come over here and click pan. To start our sketch, we're going to be using this rectangle tool. And just before I do that, I want to come over here on the left and you can see that I'm hovering over the document settings. I am going to want to change these settings or at least verify what units I'm working with. In the case of the dice, we need to be working in inches. We need to design in inches because we're going to be manufacturing in inches. So what we'll do is, you can follow my cursor, we'll click this little icon with the pencil, and what it does is it gives us this pop-up box. Now if I come over here, I can see right now the unit type is millimeters and I want inches. So I'm going to scroll down and click inches, and then I'm going to say OK. Now I can use my rectangle tool. I want you always to start your sketches right in this center point. This is called origin. It's very important that we start sketches from the origin. So I am going to left click here once. And now I'm moving my cursor and I'm just moving it up and to the left. And you can see there are some values showing height and width of this box. Right now, the value 1.1 that is highlighted blue would be the height of my rectangle. I want this to be 1 inch, so I'm going to use my keyboard and I'm going to type 1. Okay, once that's done, I know I need to come down and change the value that's moving, this horizontal dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my keyboard, and on my keyboard there's a key called Tab. I'm going to hit that and it will automatically take me over to the other value that right now says 1.146. I'll overwrite that by typing 1 on my keyboard. Once I have both of these values locked in the way I want them, I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard, and now I have the rectangle that is sized the way I want it to be. And I'm actually at this point going to click the green check mark, the finish sketch button, to finish that sketch. Automatically, the view cube went into this home position where we're looking at things in 3D. Our next operation that we're going to use is called extrude. It's right here. We're going to click on that, and then we are going to see that our box that we made previously in the sketch is now highlighted blue. I could see over here on the right that it's been selected. I didn't do that. The program automatically selected it because it's the only thing in the file right now. I want to give this some depth, so I'm going to click on this blue arrow, and I'm holding down the left mouse button and I'm dragging up. And you can see right now I've dragged it up 1.60 inches. I want this to be a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. So I'm going to type in 1 and I'm going to hit enter. Now we have our cube. This is the body of the dice, and the next part that we need to work on is creating the many dots that cover this dice. So we're going to have dots on all of these different faces. If we use the view cube to kind of manipulate the object and look around, we can click on different points of the view cube and check this thing from all different angles. Okay. Sometimes when you start clicking around on the view cube, you can get a little lost. And if you do, you can always click this little house icon to bring you back to that home view. The other thing you can do is I could left click anywhere on this view cube, and I'm holding down the left mouse button and I'm now dragging the cube around, which will help me manipulate that view kind of if I need to customize it a little bit. Okay, so going back to the home view, we want to create a dice that has dots on all faces, and we're going to start with this top face, and we are going to put 3 dots on there. So this will be the 3 of the dice. To do that, we're going to start a new sketch, and we'll use again the create sketch feature. And what we'll click on now is actually the face of the dice where we want to do some work. So we're going to click on the top face of the dice, just a left click, and I can see that I can almost see this whole dice. I can't quite see all of it. So what I can do is I can use the pan tool down at the bottom, and I'm going to left click with my mouse. I'm just sliding my mouse down and to the right to center up that view. And when I'm done, I can hit escape on my keyboard to get out of that command. By the way, escape key will get you out of any command. So we are sketching right now. The command we are going to use is called offset. Offset creates a little, it creates an object parallel to an existing object. And the way that looks, and we'll show you in a minute, is we're going to use this entire square of the dice as it is to offset into the dice. Before we do that, we're going to come over here to this little pop-up window, which is named the sketch palette. We're going to click on this icon. This is called construction. When I have this clicked, I am making lines, but they're not considered real lines. They are for reference only, and that's what we want to do with this offset. It's going to give us some positions that we can use to make the dots. So offset command, we click that, and now we can click on the outside edge of the dice, and you see it pre-selects all 4 sides. Once I've done that, I have this little arrow and I can drag it out, and I can also drag it into the dice. In our case, we're always going to want to drag it into the dice. Notice how the value right now that's highlighted blue that says 0.185 is a negative number, and that's really important. We want to have a negative number in here. So on my keyboard, I'm going to hit the negative button, and then I'm going to hit the period button for a decimal point, and then I'm going to type 125 on my keyboard, and I'm going to hit enter. I could also come over here and click OK. They both work. Okay, so now I have this offset square inside the dice that's using a dashed line, which is called a construction line, and it gives me some reference points to help create the dots that I'm going to need. If I draw a dot here in this corner where my cursor is, and then I draw another dot in the other corner, that will create 2 of the 3 points I need, but I still need one right in the center of the dice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another line, and I'm going to use the line tool, which is over here. We are still working in construction lines, which is what we want to do. What we're going to do is we're going to click on this corner of the box that we created, and we're going to click on this other corner of the box. Okay, you'll notice as we get into the corner, it kind of snaps into position, and you can see that light blue square sitting over my cursor. When I see that, I can left click so I can finish that line. Now what we need to do, and this is really important, is we need to turn off the construction lines. If I click that icon, it's not blue anymore, it's not active. And now I'm going to make the circles. So to make the circles, we'll come over here to the circle tool, and we're going to left click that. And now we're going to click in all of the center point locations where we want a dot. So we'll want one up here. So I'm going to move to the spot, which is the corner of the box. I'm going to left click, and I'm going to move my cursor to the left. I could go up, I could go to the right, I could go down. They all work. What's important is that we look at that blue highlighted value, that 0.294. We are going to override that using our keyboard. So we're going to hit the period to make a decimal point, and then we're going to type 125. Once we've done that, we can hit enter, and now we have a circle for our dot, for our first dot. We'll make subsequent dots by coming up here to the circle tool again, and we'll go this time down to the bottom corner, and we left clicked once, we dragged the mouse, we've got that value of 0.209. We're going to overwrite that using our keyboard to type 0.125, and we'll hit enter. Finally, we'll do this one more time right in the middle of the box, and notice when I get to the middle of this line, you can see a light blue triangle that pops up. That means we're at the midpoint of this line. So when I see that, I'm going to left click, I'm going to drag my mouse, and now I'll use the keyboard again to type 0.125, and we'll hit enter. Okay, once that's done, we can actually finish this sketch by checking or by clicking the green check mark. Okay, the view cube we can see now has gone back to the home view. We'll stop the video there, and we'll pick it up in the next video where we create new sketches on the remaining face of the dice.